get any responses back if I wanted to know if anybody was going to end up exiting. So it seems like everybody's coming back except Polk High Panthers, whom we've replaced with Jeffrey White. Welcome to the league, my friend. He's already changed the Polk High Panthers name to Bad to the Bone. We'll see how bad this guy really is. I mean, I got a poll up on ESPN to see what the league thinks, how many wins this guy is going to get. Might I add that probably is the worst division I've ever seen. So, let me do a little recap. First and foremost, I'd like to give a shout out to designated drunk drivers owner Brent Kessler. Man was 8-4 last year, dominating his division, and then went to the playoffs and actually beat yours truly. So kudos to that man. It is what it is. So I've kind of put that behind me, and now I'm looking forward to making this year the year of me. So let's just look at what transpired last year with the final standings, right? Last place loser, Polk High Panthers. I mean, the guy was absentee. So be it. We got him out, and we've got Jeffrey White to make sure that team is going to be competitive out there in the West. Now, 11th place used to be a champion. I don't know where he's gone or what's happened to this man's fantasy football acumen, but Manuel Hernandez, owner of the Don't Touch Me There's, disgusting. Just 11th place, almost lost to Polk High Panthers, who wasn't even around. He just wasn't even there. So to me, the loser, the grand loser of last season was Don't Touch Me There, followed by some clown that Alejandro Hernandez recruited, Shale Shaw. I'd like to think that this man didn't give up Antonio Brown, but he did. And so, it leads me to believe that this guy is just a patsy. I'd like to think otherwise, but for right now, this man's a freaking patsy. So, with all that being said, moving up the ladder, we had Ryan Mallett on 3rd and long. Aaron Hill's team. I love the name, especially as it bashed my Texans head in for not having a quarterback that season. Beautiful name. Unfortunately, your team was less so. Moving on up the ladder, flawless victory by Terrence Ricard T-Bone. Former champion as well. I mean, when you're on the bottom half of this list, it kind of hurts, man. I don't know if those championships were flukes. I mean, to really be a champion, you got to be on the consistent top half of the league. So, hopefully Mr. Ricard can bounce back. But, we'll see what happens. Up the ladder, one more rung, we got Classy Strippers, another champion of this league, B.D. William Eckert. Now, this guy's in my division. I play him twice a year. So, I look forward to the battles that we have each year. But, if you got to play me twice a year, you really can't help but be on the bottom half of this list. Now, we'll go to the top half. Surprising, but surely we got built up, bitches. Chris Garcia is the owner. He made some strides from last season, made some quality trades to get him up on the upper half, the upper echelon of this league. Next, we got Lazy Pugs, Robert Burez, also in my division. Very tough opponent, but he's in my division. He's going to take those L's. Now, we got Bull City, Doug Beeson. He's coming back for his second season. Doug Beeson is going to be a beast. I wonder if Bad to the Bone can, mediate Bull City's ability to go to the playoffs. Granted, that division was shitty. He still made the playoffs and put through some effort at 6-6. So next we got another clown in my division, former champion Chicago Chalupas. This is This is my ultimate competition. But recently he's asked to get out of my division. I wonder why. Because he knows I'm a beast. Now, I did finish second. We're not going to go there. But owed to Designated Drunk Drivers, our current champion. Now, some important information that I got to give out. We got the owners meeting coming up August 20th. And, I'd like everybody to participate in the voting. There'll be some potential rule changes. And the draft date will be voted on. So you want to be a part of that. You want to be privy to that. And, have your say-so and when the draft will be. Also, some rules could be voted on, like, points and, roster changes and, amount of kickers that can be applied. I'll formulate all these into proposals that each owner will have a vote on. Majority rules, ties, goes to my vote. So, as the commissioner, it is decided. But more importantly, what I really wanted to discuss is the keepers. I understand that many people have some frustrations about the keepers and how the rounds go. I want to do a little clarification, and if you don't understand what I'm saying, you can go to an ESPN website and see how the keepers are done, especially with multiple keepers. But we only have one, unfortunately. My team would be stacked if we had 3 or 4 keepers, beast moding it, but we don't. So, I took a look at all the teams this year and whether or not they would be able to have, solid keepers. So I'm gonna dish out some free advice, right? And I'll start with yours truly, right? My team is no longer 99 Problems, but you ain't one. Beautiful name, I loved it, but I like to change it up every year. So this year, your opponent will be the whole 10 yards, homie. We got my keeper. I had a plethora of choices since we can only have one keeper. Let's go down my roster because it's so wonderful from last season. We have Aaron Rodgers, who's bound to have a better season than last year. Could have easily kept that guy and been secure at the QB position. Decided not to. You got Todd Gurley, the rookie phenom, only played a 12-game season and just dominated, being in the top 8 of our rankings for running backs. Did wonderful stuff for me. I got D-Hop, right? Now, that's probably who I'm going to keep. But I also had Julio Jones, Alshon Jeffrey, Antonio Gates. There was a plethora of choices for me to have. Billy Baldwin. But I digress. I'm choosing DeAndre Hopkins, right? So in that initial round where everybody gets a choice to keep one player from their team last year, I'm choosing DeAndre Hopkins, meaning that Julio Jones will go into the free agent pool. Todd Gurley goes into the free agent pool. Aaron Rodgers goes into the free agent pool, right? So I can't control them. They're gone. Contracts are over. But I do get to keep D-Hop. That's my keeper, regardless of where I pick in the draft. That's my keeper. Now, what happens is some of you, whether you understand it or not, will not keep a player. Granted, some of you don't need to keep a player because your teams are that shitty. So, let's take a look. Right? We'll go down the list, right, to classy strippers. Should classy strippers keep a keeper? Now, his best player, according to my rankings, would be Allen Robinson. Unless he plans on keeping Levante David. Possibly. Man could also keep Eddie Lacy, but he has a choice to make. Does he want to keep Shreddy Lacy, who dropped some pounds? Good on you, kid. Or does he keep Allen Robinson, a receiver in a happy PPR league? I would choose Allen Robinson. But truth be told, I'm not keeping a keeper because I know that 99 Problems, but you ain't one, currently known as the whole 10 yards, has to let go of D-Hop Julio Jones and freaking Eddie Lacy. All three of those guys are better than anything on Classy Strippers rosters. Merry Christmas. So now, Classy Strippers, regardless of where he picks in the draft, has an open slot on his roster if he chooses not to keep anyone on his roster. Meaning that depending on where his draft order is, out of those that choose not to elect a keeper, he will have first dibs on the free agent pool. This is not round one of the draft, people, which a lot of you are confused about, but this is not round one. This is to make sure that every team has at least one player going into round one. So, granted, Classy Strippers could keep Eddie Lacy. I don't know why, because, he has a chance of grabbing Todd Gurley. The man could keep Allen Robinson. But the man also has a chance of grabbing Julio Jones. Now, considering we only have one keeper, this applies to all the teams. Let's move down the list, shall we, to Bull City. Now, does Bull City have a viable keeper? Fuck no. He's got Sammy Watkins, which is his best option. But then again, unless he's just an avid Bills fan, there will be better receivers in the keeper round. He should not keep Sammy. Just shouldn't. But who am I? I'm just, constantly in the playoffs every year. What do I know? What do I know? So you keep who you want. But just know that there will be better players than what you have on your roster. You can only keep one guy. Only one. And if there's a better option in the free agents, which I'm going to be dropping, you probably should take the gamble and getting a high draft pick maybe, and then having your pick of the litter of what's left over. Let's go to Don't Touch Me There. Don't Touch Me There actually has a legitimate keeper that he could keep. Granted, his keeper is going to be out for 4 games. I mean, Le'Veon Bell, best back in the league. He's at full strength, but the man can't keep the drugs out of his system. Avoiding, drug tests is not. But he has a choice to make, right? Le'Veon Bell, arguably the best back in the league. He's also got Dez Bryant, Emmanuel Sanders. This guy doesn't have a bad team. But when it comes to keepers, he can only keep one. So you keep one guy, and then the rest will go into the free agent pool for the keeper round. Now, he chooses Dez Bryant. Le'Veon Bell goes to the free agency pool. So I don't know if he's willing to risk someone else, namely myself, grabbing Le'Veon Bell as, the real draft begins. Moving on to teams that probably have good keepers. Back to the Bone, new owner, walked in, he just came in there and benched everybody. He said, you're no good, you're no good, you're no good, you're no good, you're no good. And he's got a decision to make. Does he keep AJ Green or David Johnson? Me personally, I'm taking David Johnson over that. To have a solid running back, that would be really, really nice. But, he's got a legitimate keeper. Those two characters on his team will most likely put up as much production as anybody I would let go, or as anybody that's Don't Touch Me There would let go as well. Moving on to the current champion. This guy is the champ and doesn't have a viable keeper. You know what that means? The man's a good owner. He was able to take garbage, pure garbage, and then take the donkey to the top. That's a fantasy owner who has my admiration. But does he have a keeper on his roster right now? Hell no. So there are plenty of people in the free agent pool. I mean, he's got Mike Evans. If he's a diehard Bucks fan, I can see him keeping Devontae Freeman. Does he think he's going to repeat as the best running back in the league? I don't know. I mean, he might choose to keep these guys. My best bet is saying that Lamar Miller is his best option for a keeper this season. if he decides to take one. I wouldn't recommend it. Those guys should go into the free agent pool. Let's go to Chicago Chalupas, who has arguably the best player in the draft right now. I doubt he lets go of Antonio Brown. However, Drew Brees goes back. Adrian Peterson goes back. Latavius Murray goes back. Fitzgerald goes back. Eric Decker goes back. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful team this guy has, but he only gets to keep one. So if he chooses to keep a keeper, he keeps Antonio Brown. The rest of them go back. If he doesn't keep a keeper, Antonio Brown goes back as well, and depending on his draft order, during the keeper round, he might be able to pick up the best player again if he got, first pick and he didn't keep a keeper. But other than that, why even risk it? You keep Antonio Brown. He's the best player in the league right now. You go with that. Bolt Up Bitches. Does Bolt Up Bitches have a viable starter? I mean, Keenan Allen. I'm giving Keenan Allen his best bet for a keeper. Would it be worth it? I don't know. There might be better options in the free agent pool, but Keenan Allen is a safety valve. I think he's going to have a blow-up season as long as he doesn't lacerate a kidney. Man will be fine. Ryan Mallon on 3rd and long, a.k.a. fucked. He's got some potential keepers, but to me, I don't think he keeps anybody. You have an argument that he could keep LaShawn McCoy or Cam Newton. To me, those guys aren't going to be as valuable to what is left over. So, I think he lets everyone go and takes his chances at getting a legitimate round one keeper, right? So, I'm saying that Aaron Hill probably shouldn't keep any of those players, but, what do I know? He may keep Cam. Cam is dynamic. He was the best quarterback last year. I can't argue these things, but I think for point value purposes, he should probably go with, maybe grabbing a Julio Jones, having the possibility to. The key is you won't know where you're picking before an hour before the draft. And then you won't be able to select a keeper. You have to do all of this stuff before the draft. 1 hour prior, you have to have your keeper selected, and you won't know your draft position. That's the gamble. That's where the gamble is, people. He doesn't keep anyone, but he picks 12th. That means out of all the people that don't keep a keeper, he's the last one to get a keeper. Could be the same person that he let go, or it could be someone better. You never know. And that's only if he picks 12. Granted, the draft will start immediately after all 12 teams have a keeper, so he won't get another pick again until 12th. But that isn't, the draft starts after everybody has one player on their team. So let's get that clear. He's still picking 12th, and he will still get the snake around. He'll have the 12th and 13th pick after everyone has one player on the roster. And that's if he's picking 12. That's if any of you are picking 12. So, if I'm picking 12th and I'm keeping DeAndre Hopkins, it doesn't matter that initial keeper round, I'm not going to get a pick. I won't get a pick until 12th and 13th pick because I already am deciding to keep who I believe will be the best receiver in football in the 2016 season. Moving on, I don't want to skip any of you guys. Hater gets these nuts. I'm hoping that you're not just some patsy who's just going to hand the trophy to, Chicago Chalupas. I hope that's not your aim, that you plan to play if you're going to pay. So, I look forward to you coming back. I razzed you a little bit, but do you have a legitimate keeper on your team since you gave away Antonio Brown? Let's take a look. D's, you got Jordan Reed, so I'm saying no. I mean, you got Randall Cobb as well. DeMarco Murray, if you believe that he's going to be a top 5 back. You got the muscle hamster who actually was a top 5 back. But will there be better options for you? I do believe so. I think Jordan Reed would be your best option if you decided to keep a keeper, which means you probably shouldn't. Flawless victory. a staple. You know, even though you've been in the bottom half, you've been a staple. Do you own anyone that is a keeper? Of course you do. It's Odell Beckham Jr. There's no doubt in your mind that you keep Odell Beckham Jr. because he's the greatest wide receiver since 2 years ago. So, I mean, even with that being Antonio Brown, I think Odell Beckham Jr. is just as good, if not, better, because stats don't lie. So, keep Odell Beckham. Don't even worry about the keep around, and just draft where you are. I mean, you got your keeper. You got one of the best players in the draft. You should not be going into the keep around with no one. And last but not least, we got Lazy Pugs Pug Life. And do they own a keeper? My guess is you do. I think you keep Rob Gronkowski just because he's the most dominant player, not named J.J. Watt. So you keep Gronk and you move on with that. I know you're also, an avid Seahawks fan, so maybe the Patriots isn't what you would like to keep, but Gronk's where it's at. And you should keep Gronk. If you don't, there's probably some options, but more than likely you're going to end up picking Gronk if you don't keep a keeper. So that's what I have to say about keepers and the teams that have these guys on their rosters. Should you or should you not keep a keeper? If you have any doubt, you really should just look at your own rankings, and if there's somebody that you would keep in the first round. I know our current champion, he kind of hit me up on the low asking me if we could do the draft on a different site, and I was like, well, I'll do whatever the league wants, but it's already been a little complicated, and that's probably my fault. I'll take ownership of that. So I don't want to make it any more complicated, like, say, drafting at NFL.com, because then you could really assess, like, say if you wanted to keep, Jordan Reed, you would keep him at the ideal draft position, the average draft position of that site. So say he's being drafted in the 3rd or 4th round, that's when your keeper would be. The draft would go normal and you would select your keeper. But I don't want to get too confused. Right now, it's ESPN. What we've got going on, the draft has a keeper round in the beginning, so you should probably just keep the player on your roster that you would take in the first round. That's my best advice. If you got a guy on your team right now that you would take in the first round, you should probably keep him on your roster. If not, you pick up the leftovers that teams can only keep one. Julio Jones will probably be there. Todd Gurley will probably be there. If you don't have a player of that caliber, you should probably let him go. Or somewhere close in that first round range. Choice is yours. Like I said, August 20th, we'll have an owners meeting. We can discuss all these things. But this video has lasted long past that I want to do. I got some homework to do. I got some things to do. Wife should be coming home in a minute. But I just want to say I look forward to this season. I hope you all do too. And may the best man, me, win. Holla!